What do you got?
I think I can prove to a judge that both of these men had the mens rea.
What the hell is a mens rea?
It's a legal term the lawyers use. It just means the intention to commit a crime.
Okay, come on, let's go.
Mens rea?
Put the cuffs on him.
How could we have gotten mens rea? We take blood? Can you do it without taking blood? We both use condoms. How is this possible? I want to see a doctor. Can I have an independent blood test?
Money!
I feel sick.
What are you doing?
Mens rea! Oh! Oh! My God!
Put the gun down.
I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
Put the gun down, David.
It seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box?
Not till you give me the
What's
gun.
in the fucking box?
Give me the gun.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Hey everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're doing it with, and however good it feels. Welcome to Legal Vices. We have Law and Lumber here with us tonight. He's backstage while I get all this housekeeping stuff out of the way, so we'll just get right into it. Of course, the single most important thing to do is get the daily cocktail up and out of the way. Today, you cannot go wrong with a classic Negroni. Negroni, 3 simple ingredients, all the same measurements. Gin. Start off with a good gin. Do 1 part gin. This is botanist gin from Bruichladdich, my favorite gin on planet Earth. Drop in 1 part of that into a wonderful little mixing glass, and then you're going to want to add in some vermouth, some nice red vermouth. This is a vermouth di Torino. This is an amazing vermouth. It's one of my faves. So drop in 1 part of that. Drop that in your glass. And then you want to finish it off with the nice, lovable, wonderful, colorful Campari. You want some Campari in there. So this makes it nice and colorful and delicious, kind of cuts into some of the bitterness. And once you get everything together, mix it all up. Get it nice and cool in your mixing glass. Make sure you got some ice in there to keep it cool. And then when it's all mixed up, and grab yourself your glass. I like to put ice in my glass because it keeps it cooler. And then just pour it off into your cocktail glass. Obviously, I make mine a double as always. And then when you're done, just to make it look beautiful, drop in a couple of little pieces of dried orange wheel on either side. So there you go. You have your classic, delicious, amazing Negroni cocktail. And with that, let's bring on my friend. Let's bring him on. I decided not to introduce you as my Negroni, but
oh my God.
I decided that might be borderline inappropriate.
You can see the wheels turning in your head as you were doing it too. It's like you could just. He goes, "Where is he going? Oh, that's where he's going with this." Okay,
yeah, I talked myself out of it.
Why is it 9 o'clock in the morning my time and I'm sitting here wanting a cocktail? Well, because life, but also that looks delicious.
Oh, it is so good. I love a good solid Negroni on a nice kind of cool or late spring, early summer weekend.
Whatever time of year it is. I mean, I've lost time. I've lost track of year, day, time of day.
Yeah.
Month. I don't know. Where are we? Who are we? Are we on planet Earth still?
Well, you'll probably figure it out when you actually wake up a little bit. I know it's. I always feel bad having stateside guests on because it's just the time zone could not be any worse. Exactly 13 hours difference. So
That's not that bad.
You kind of got to come up with these time zones that are really late for one and really early for another. So it's just kind of
when they overlap exactly at that moment, really late for one, really early in the other, you get some really funny live streams.
Well, hopefully this will be one of them. What's your favorite cocktail? As long as we're talking about cocktails.
I'm still an old-fashioned guy. Like honestly, just a well-made old-fashioned. Such a simple cocktail. Everyone screws it up. They throw in either too much ice or they just get the measurements wrong. Like it.
Ooh, how do you make your old fashions? Let's compare old fashions.
Basically, well, just like one. I like the what should I talk about? The not just the dark cherries, but the ones that are like soaked in like bourbon cask.
Yes, the maraschino cherries. Get the dark Luxardos from Italy.
Oh, those are probably not even. See, I don't like the sweet. I don't like the sweet maraschino. I like the ones that are like soaked in like a bourbon cask, something like that. That like they have a little bit of a depth to it. Then I muddle those with 1 sugar cube, muddle that together, twist the orange, and then just a good whiskey. I like whiskey. I don't like rye in that. So
what whiskey do you use for an old fashioned if you have your choice?
Depends on the day. It really depends on the day. Honestly, my go-to is more a bourbon though. My go-to is just old fashioned. It's just not old fashioned. What am I trying? Woodford Reserve. Just a Woodford old fashioned, simple, well executed. There you go. Now you have 3, 4, 5 of those, you get in trouble.
Yeah, but not too different. See, I don't muddle the cherries. And when I use like a brown sugar cube. I think it adds that kind of richer, more molassesy kind of thing to the sweetness. Just a splash of water, about 4 dashes of a good bitters, or sometimes I'll use like a sugared orange, just like sugared orange peel, as the sugar in it, so it kind of adds that orangey flavor.
Sure.
But then just add a good rye or a good bourbon over some ice, and then 3 cherries on a stick, and I'm done. Maybe drop in an orange peel.
Where do you get the sugared orange peels?
Well, they make tea out of them here in Korea, so that's the great thing. They just take a bunch of oranges or the mandarins, and they stick them in a jar and fill it full of sugar, and then you're there. It's a luxury that people take for granted around here.
I woke up thinking about coffee, and now I'm sitting here thinking about cocktails. It's weird. It's a weird change in like the mental focus, but I'm all for it.
There you go. Well, if you need to step away and liquor up this morning, just let me know. We've got our regular standard like and subscribe poll here before we get going. So if you're here, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you think you're subscribed, just double check and make sure you are. And Rob's pushing 250,000 subscribers. So if any of you are subscribed to me and not him, I don't know what's wrong with you. I just assume everybody is. But just in case you're one of the 1 or 2 freaks of nature out there that actually haven't subscribed to Rob over at Lawn Lumber, just go over there and do that. And again, if you're subscribed to him, make sure you're still subscribed.
Please do that. Like the number of subs that get bled off and people that are like, I'm not getting notifications anymore. Yeah. Why didn't I get it? I don't know how it happens. I stopped trying to explain things. I don't know how to explain.
Well, it's still a sore subject for me. I'm just a wee little channel over here. And well, once you've done that, take the like and subscribe poll. Like I said, I have to do the like and subscribe polls to remind people, because even when I'm watching other people's streams, I forget to hit the like button unless they tell me. So that's just there as a reminder. Have you liked and have you subscribed? Yes, would be a tragedy if not. Of course, a plain crime not to. Or yeah, only a lazy person wouldn't. And yes, our joints dovetail nicely. Those are our choices for today.
How many puns did you think of? I saw you on Twitter making all sorts of chaos.
Well, mercifully, other people ruined the puns in chat because I was going to say Rob bringing the morning wood, but they ruined that on Twitter. So there we go. This is part of the anniversary tour. It's a month-long celebration of my 1-year anniversary here on YouTube. I'm just having people that mean something to me, people that have shown me goodwill and favor, people that have been nice, people that I'm interested in, people that are just general all-around good people. I want to bring on to learn to know a little more about them, introduce them to people, and say my personal thanks to them, and especially to you, Rob, for the kindness and generosity shown to me over the past year as I sort of get used to whatever this is. And
have you gotten used to it yet? Like 1 year in?
Yeah, I had the ancient old back in the day radio background to sort of jumpstart, so I didn't have that turn on the microphone and go, oh my God, I'm talking to X number of thousands of people or hundreds of people. What do I do? So I didn't have that, but now it's just like what to talk about every day, which is why I have people on to tell me what to talk about. So I don't have to think about it. But you were just Guy, and then you wake up one day to 100,000 subscribers. That's just got to be a mind screw there.
It's really so. It's really kind of messed with me at the beginning. It's getting less and less so. I've been a practicing attorney for 12 years now, litigation the entire time, and I love it. It's fantastic. But I've been one of those guys that always needs background noise. Like there's got to be something going on, and that kind of brought about watching some of these trials on YouTube. And I liked hearing the input from attorneys because I don't like watching talking heads get everything wrong. It drives me insane. You go to watch a trial or you watch trial commentary and like, this is the development in this particular trial. And you're just going, you are idiots. Why it's not hard. So I liked watching the commentary because then I found that I was having debates with people that were on panels. So jump into the fray. And then like 1 year later, fast forward, and this past weekend I saw a mashup of Uptown Funk, like where it was just a bunch of us dancing and singing and having a good time. I was like, well, this is my life now.
And it's fun. It's just nice getting to, like I said, to meet people that aren't stupid. You know? I don't just mean like I don't mean just people are stupid. I just mean there's just the shit stirrers. There's just the people that they live to be online trolls, and then there's just the ignorant people, like you say, the call the trials, that comment on the trials, that even though they say they're lawyers, clearly don't know what they're talking about on crime. People like that, where it's just all sensations, all about the clicks, it's all about the views, story be damned, unbiased opinions be damned.
They're not allowed to have disagreements. Like that's the thing. You get one of those channels and there's maybe one person who disagrees. And you're like, well, this is just boring. Why? Because you put 10 lawyers in a room, and honestly, you should have 10 different opinions. Like there should not be everyone lining up at the same time. But when you see like Law and Crime or these other people, they have this unanimous consensus that this is the disposition. You're like, well, that's you're just all full of crap.
Well, and again, it's like we can all have these disagreements, and some of us even just disagree to play devil's advocate to flesh out ideas, and we still go, okay, yeah, I think you're wrong, but we're still friends. You can actually disagree with someone cordially and respectfully, and have a difference of opinion without hating them, banning them, and doing all this nonsense. I mean, I started kind of basically the same way you did. It's just that ADHD thing where if I don't have something going in the background, I'm listening to the clock tick. I'm watching people walk back and forth. I'm paying attention to the cars going behind me. I need that one piece of white noise in the background that kind of keeps my attention enough to where it doesn't wander all over the place. And that's what I was doing. It used to be like DSP videos and things like that, just because they were just watch the gameplay all the way through. But then I found Nick during Rittenhouse and started watching that. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And that's when not Law and Lumber Rob, when Andrew Esquire from Legal Mindset, he said, you mentioned he was in Seoul. And I went, oh, wait, there's another lawyer here in Korea that I don't know, because we're a very small group. And we kind of all know each other or know somebody who knows somebody. And I said, I hadn't heard of him. So I kind of said, hey, that's, welcome. Who are you? What's the deal? Let's get together. And then we started drinks. And he kept saying, you should do it. You should do this YouTube thing. It's fun. And this is about the time that Amber Heard was starting in the Johnny Depp trial. I'm like, nah, nobody wants to hear that. Nah, I'm busy. He's like, no, really. And so then we blew that off. Next time we're out having drinks, and he's like, no, really, it'd be you're funny. People want to hear it. And I'm like, nah. And then the third time, I'm like, it sounds good to me. Let's go order the computer equipment. And so we did. And that's kind of what happened. And you and I started right about the same time. He was a few weeks ahead of me. And like I said, you have that ridiculous amazing skill where you know what the hell you're talking about at least one more thing than the average guy does.
It's not that. It's just woodworking for me.
Talk about that moment where you go, okay, I'm just gonna make a video saying
it didn't make sense.
Right, how she said that bed broke. That's not how that's not how a I guess it would be, what was about a 4x4, 6x6?
No, that thing was bigger. That was a bigger post.
Bigger?
But either way, and other people there were trolls that hated back, and they were like, "Well, what if it was dried? What if it was dried?" And it's like, dude, unless he's got like the Get Smart boot where you snap the heel together and the blade comes out the tip, that's not going to break that way. You don't have to look. You could have been in construction. You could have been a carpenter. It sounded off to a lot of people, I imagine, hearing that.
Yeah.
Just the ADHD brain at some point in time when she was testifying, all of the testimony that she gave, it was like that one little part that popped out. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Why doesn't that make sense? Because that's not how that would happen. And then I had to learn how to make a video, and I went back and watched that at some point in time. I can't make it through that video. It is so cringe. I am reading off of like a piece of paper, and I'm nervous, and I think I made it at 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, but it was just fun. I had never imagined that thing would go around the internet the way it did.
Yeah, that's the thing. What was it like to just go, all right, this is a video that maybe 4 people are going to watch, and then you wake up and you've literally got 100,000 people in one day? What do you do?
Well, it wasn't so much that. It wasn't so much the channel followers. It was the people that came out of like my past that were like texting me saying like, is this you? Or it's like, I got this video forwarded to me. Like my cousin texted me from like, she's in Colorado. Friends from like law school, high school, college texted me like with little screen grabs of the video. And they're like, hang on, this is you, right? Like, I'm not crazy. I was like, yeah, that's me. Or they said, my friend walked over to me and they showed me this video and it was you on it. That was the weird part. That was the weird part. And that was the undercover part. I was like, yeah, you just I can't really take it back. It's not on the internet. People are seeing it. So
go with it. So that's the thing. I haven't told anybody. I haven't told anybody I do this. Not that I'm hiding it. I'm just waiting to see how long it takes for it to organically get out amongst my people. And so far, there was like one girl that I was interested in dating for a bit. She saw a Johnny Depp trial on the Ricada stream that I was on, and she said, "Is this you?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then a guy that used to live here, a lawyer that used to live here in Korea that now works in the DA's office in Vegas. He's like, yeah, we were talking about this trial and my friend showed me this video. I'm like, dude, it's you. And then one of my Korean friends saw a review of the local cigar lounge that I did. And he's like, hey. So there's like 3 people on earth in my sphere that know about it still after a year. So I think it's just kind of funny. But I just want to see how long it takes just for giggles. But we got a few little things here. We got one super chat to start the day here. This is now Cocktail Channel, says Rick Nikeda. And Ryan Man YYC, thank you so much for joining the Clean and Sober crew. And Bella Stella has gifted 10 Legal Vices memberships. So thank you very much for that, Bella Stella. And of course, as always, the doggo cam is behind our little paywall. So whenever we get to that level, we will unleash the hound, but that's entirely up to you. And we don't hold them hostage for money. We just release them as a bonus for reaching a certain goal. So there we go. What's your biggest mistake doing all of this? I mean, what was the biggest mistake you think you did in getting into this YouTube career thing?
Biggest mistake.
I ask everybody this, man.
I would say it's just the hot takes. Like every now and then you realize you're talking, and honestly, it's one of those where it's like, I know that you should know better, right? I'm a trial attorney. I should know better. I should know to think before I speak. Every now and then, sometimes just words come out and you're going, oh crap. And whether that's, innuendo that my chat loves to troll me about. I learned that my mom is a channel member by reading I did. I learned that my mom is a channel member by reading a book. I think what book was it? It wasn't like Brenda's Beaver Needs a Barber. It was one of those remarkably inappropriate child books, right? I'm reading that thing and all of a sudden I look over at the chat and my mom has sent like a super sticker. And I was like, wait, huh? So you just heard that. Okay.
I do love how your mom just randomly pops up in super chats every now and then.
So funny. It is so funny.
It's like the last time I saw it, Danny was throwing around some nuanced phrases, some double entendres, and then she does it about one of your super chatters, and you're like, Danny, that's my mom.
And it was the look on her face. It was the look on her face. And I'm like, yep, same. She went immediately off camera and she was terrified. And she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, don't worry about it. She's done it to me like 9 million times. It's hilarious. I laughed my ass off. I think that
Mr. Golden
every
says
mistake
occasionally.
Yeah, well, that's what I like. Every mistake that you make is just an opportunity. Like, for example, the plushie stuff, that's based off a mistake. Everything there.
I do not know the backstory of that. They just started growing one day.
Hang on, there was no. Let me grab this real quick. So you can see the little avatar. That's the BRB avatar, right?
Yeah.
So that's this guy, and when I think Elaine Bredhoff was giving a speech or some lecture about how this is a downfall for all women and how women are not going to be believed anymore because you're not believing Amber Heard. And I'm a domestic relations practitioner and was pissed listening to her talk about this. Well, this was intended for my lovely niece. This was supposed to be a birthday gift, and it was sitting right over there on the desk. And I go over and I grab it. I'm just using it like kind of as a stress ball, and just at some point in time, like I think I threw it against the wall, but and the chat noticed, and they were like, "Hold up, is Rob holding a unicorn?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I am," but I put it back down, and I put it back down in a place that I didn't even realize was in view of the camera. So every time I was on a live stream, people would see the unicorn, and they started talking about the unicorn. They named the unicorn, and then Burberries. I think you've seen her in your chat quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
She messaged me and she goes, "Hey, I would love to replace the unicorn that was supposed to go to your niece. And how many nieces and nephews do you have? I love doing crochet. Can I make a unicorn for all of the nieces?" I was like, "Well, that was really kind of you. Sure." Sure enough, like a month and a half later.
And she's like, "Hi, it's me. I started something big."
Yeah. Like a month and a half later, I get this box full of little unicorn crocheted animals and little triceratops for the little nephews, and each one of the kids has their own unicorn or triceratops, and then there's one additional one for me. And then people started sending stuff, and I tell people to just go make something, you'll feel better, and people take that to heart. They make it. They either hand crochet, they embroider, they stitch, they make it, and they're happy having done it, and they like to share that, and they send it. So I kind of put that up as a celebration to the fact that people are making stuff and going out and doing great. And I'm also just a giant goofball. If you can't laugh at yourself, if you can't realize that the crap that we cover on these channels, what are you doing?
I think that is so important, and that kind of leads into the next question, because it's the answer to my answer to the next question. What was the smartest thing you did? What was the best thing you did in the past year?
Realizing you can be a goofball, laughing, like just kind of embracing that, going, forgetting, for every troll that's out there, for every person that hates you, they're going to be really loud, but there are an equal number of people that are just really happy that you're talking to them. And then you just don't really care. You just, just being on YouTube can destroy a lot of your self-confidence unless you really don't care.
And I think that's that's the answer. I know that's the answer. For me, the best thing that I did was, because I'm like, oh, this is great. This YouTube thing is awesome. Everybody loves each other. Everybody's having fun. Everybody just bounces around on everybody's channel. And then 2 weeks after I start, the great rift happened, and I stayed the hell out of it. Like, why aren't you commenting about this? Why aren't you commenting about that person? Because what I've been doing this 2 weeks. On what planet would I say anything about anybody? And that's a good thing that I've just always stuck to. And I hate nobody. I dislike nobody.
Yeah, I'm very much the same way. I stay out of it. So, and I stay out of a lot of the drama. I will stay away from topics that I don't feel like I can add anything to. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not a political pundit, guys. I give trial analysis. Like, I'm a trial attorney. What can I add in the politisphere other than my own personal opinions? And with that, you're not really entitled to be inside of my brain all the time, despite people thinking on YouTube that I get to demand your opinion on everything. No, I get to keep some of that to myself.
Well, I mean, a lot of times is, well, what do you think about this? And my first answer is, who?
Yeah.
What?
Well,
What did I miss?
What's
I don't even know who
going
these
on?
people are. Well, speaking of the legal vices, what's your favorite Godzilla movie? That's an easy question to answer. That's right back here.
You got to get those things hung again.
Short. Yeah, this is the framed original movie poster from the Raymond Burr 1954 Godzilla. That's, you can't get better than the Americanified original.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's my favorite Godzilla thing. And Booterberry says, Jeff, you'd have something if you had an address up. She thinks that Koreans don't do post office boxes anymore. That's like old school. That's ancient times. The nearest post office that has a post office box is about 4 miles from my house. They just don't exist. And I want to send it to my home, so I'm probably gonna just have things sent to my office.
4 miles, like it was the longest distance in the world.
Well, I mean, this is a city of like 5 million people, so like 4 miles is a huge thing. I mean, back in Utah, I would love for anything to be 4 miles from the house where I grew up. Yeah. We celebrated the day we got our stoplight.
So that's always been my question. What the heck brought you out to Korea from Utah? Because you were Utah born and raised, or?
Yeah. Born and raised there, spent 19 years there. And then I accepted a call to go be a nice little Mormon missionary in Korea for 2 years.
Oh, and so the cocktails set in?
Yeah. So yeah, I was a missionary here for 2 years. I mean, sorry, Buddha, we're gonna delete you. Not delete you, just this hat here.
Take your
Chat.
You don't want to be here on screen for this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, so I said, I'm a good little Mormon boy. I want to go spread the word. And so I applied to be a missionary. And they said, would you like to go to Korea? I said, sure. Let me just get a map and find out where that is. I thought it was somewhere down around Hong Kong, but it turns out it's not. So I came here for 2 years. And then I went back so I did a year at Utah State University. Then I came here for 2 years. Then I went back to do my sophomore year at Utah State University. And they had when I was a missionary here in Busan, and Utah State University had just finished signing a sistership relationship. I still didn't take that down, did I? A sistership relationship with Busan National University. And because one of the head people in the humanities department was a Korean professor, and he went to Busan National, so he wanted to put a little feather in his cap. And I was like, well, who the hell do we know that would want to go spend a year or so in Korea being a guinea pig? And my advisor said, I think I might know somebody that fits that category. And so he hauled me into the office and said, do you want to be an exchange student for a year? I said, hey, sure. So I came back here for another year. Then I met a foreign lawyer that had been working here. This was in 91 when I came back as a student. I had met him just before the end of my missionary. He was a lawyer that came here in 84, and he'd been here ever since. And then I met him again when I came back to be an exchange student. We hung out a bit, and I said, hey, I really want to do what you're doing. So, you keep me in mind and let's keep in touch. So we kept in touch. I did my second and part of my third year of university here in Korea. Then I went back to wrap up my third year and senior year at Utah State, and then went to law school. Came here during the summers. At the end of my 2L, University of Utah, they wouldn't let us work our first year.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't allowed to do any clerkships or anything. I don't know if that's how it was anywhere else, but you're here to study, not work. So we couldn't do anything our first year. So after my 2L, I came back here to Korea because I was talking to the lawyer that I knew, and I said, hey, it's time for a clerkship. He's, oh, yeah, it's great. We'd love to have you come here and be a clerk for us. I said, cool. He's like, oh, I'm going to be on vacation when you get here, but there'll be plenty for you to do until I get back. So I pack all my bags. I come to Korea. I show up at his firm on a bright, sunshiny Monday morning, and I get this, who are you? I'm your intern. Or what? He said, your intern. And the senior partner says, we don't have one of those. And I said, but he said, he goes, well, okay, well, whose firm is this? His or mine?
Oh no.
And I went, but I came like from America to do this. He's like, well, I didn't tell you to come here to America. That's his problem, and he's not here. And I don't need an intern. I said, well, hell, what do I do? He said, well, I do know one guy that he said he wants to maybe look into going into the international market here in Busan. So let me see if he needs somebody for the summer. So he called me, I walked up the street, talked to the guy, and he agreed to let me stay there at his firm for the summer. So that was great. And he said at the end, and he's like, well, we don't really need anybody. So sorry, but thank you for your internship. It was great. We're not going to hire anybody permanently. Came back. I was looking to get into the public defender's office in Salt Lake. That's what I really want to do, public defenders, or I'd learned Korean, so I kind of wanted to use that too. So it was one or the other. I started filling out my wall of shame from all the rejection letters I got from the firms I put applications to. And about 2:30 one morning, I get this call from the guy I worked for in Korea. He's like, I'm merging with another office. We're going to create a law firm. We're going to be doing maritime stuff. Would you like a full-time job? I said, yep. And I've been there for 28 years.
So at this point in time, you've spent well over half your life in Korea.
Almost double, yeah. 19 years in the States and 35 here.
Wow.
Not counting law school. So actual boots on the ground time, about 32 years here.
That is awesome. How often do you get back to the States?
Once a year, except for during the COVID times. That was rough, not being able to see family for 3 years. I didn't see my son for 3 years. That sucked. But we made up for it. So now we're gonna be doing the anime Matsuri thing this summer for 5 days, and then go kick it with the family for another 2 weeks.
What is anime Matsuri? Why do I not know it? Like some people made this comment. You go to Matsuri. I'm like, I have no idea what that is.
Anime stuff. I
have zero.
I don't give a shit about anime stuff. I'm just going there to meet everybody.
Okay. Where is it? Is it?
It's in Houston.
Oh, okay. In the summer?
In August.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's like me. It's like, where are you going for vacation in August?
I'm going
Houston and Utah.
Most miserable location in the peak of hurricane season. Sure. God.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Korea is so miserable. Korea is sort of like northern Florida, South Carolina in the summer. It's just hot, humid, and muggy all the time. Doesn't get much above 85, 90 degrees, but when it's 90% humidity and hits 100 for like 4 days in a row, you're just dying. So I'm going from that to Houston and then to just bone dry Utah desert for 2 weeks. So great vacation this year.
Just fantastic timing, great choices, just all around. Oh,
yeah. So I'm just going there to meet everybody that's coming, because I was too young and fresh to get wedding invitations and to go other places and meet people, and nobody comes through Korea. But Andrew and I are thinking about doing a Visit Korea 2024, like in October of 2024, just inviting people over to spend a week or two here just to hang out and enjoy.
I love food.
Amazing, like beautiful fall weather.
Food is my downfall. Like I will eat everything, and I love spicy food. I love just anything, and I just love international food. No matter where I go, I want to sit down, but I never want to go to like the tourist trap places. I want to go where people.
That's me.
Yes, like I have a friend that lives here. I have a friend from here, and they take me out to this restaurant, little hole in the wall. You go sit down and you just eat for 3-4 hours, because that's the appropriate time to eat a meal, because you're sitting there drinking, talking, having a good time. That's my favorite thing in the world.
And what do you think? Why is it that you feel that way? Why is it you don't want to do the touristy things? What is it that turns you off about that?
I love history, but I like real history. The problem is it's like the law, right? So many people get aspects of legal analysis wrong. So many people get history wrong. Old trials, like that's the reason why I like talking about the old trials, like historic cases. I don't just want to take the 30,000 foot view of it. When I want to learn something, I want to learn it. It's like food.
Yeah.
When I want to eat something, I don't want to just like, this is some off the shelf version of this cuisine that you're supposed to enjoy, and this is a staple here. Cool. Does it taste anything like it's supposed to? Not really. Okay, then why are you feeding it to me?
Well, and that's one thing we have a comment here. Let's get through a couple of these comments real quick.
Yeah.
The pair should be called the Boilermaker, whiskey and beer.
Okay, that hurts the stomach and the soul, but fantastic at the same time.
Sandra Ramirez, Legal Vices. I lived in Yongsan for a year. Korea is cool. That sounds military if you lived in Yongsan for a year.
Sandra is retired law enforcement. She's one of my mods. She's awesome.
So I'm guessing Yongsan base MP, I would guess. Captain Have Fun. If Jeff would like the Miami Vice toy with his face, would he like it? I don't even know what that means. With the box, it's $50. A toy itself is just $25. I don't even know what that means. It scares me.
Miami Vice toy with his face?
Jeff would like the Miami Vice toy with his face. Would he like it? Oh, like a Funko bobblehead thing with my head on it? Is that what we're asking? That'd be fun. That'd be cool. Huh.
Oh yeah, no, they make these.
Aussie Overload. Oh, come on, man. It's going to be fun. I even picked which hat I want to get. Not hat. Yeah, because I get all these hats from Miller Hat in Houston, and I'm gonna pay a pilgrimage to the mothership when I go there. Just to.
I have ever since you. By the way, something you don't know. Ever since you ever gave that link, where the Miller Hats is where you buy your hats. Yeah. I have that bookmarked and saved. I just haven't gone and bought one.
Yeah, so that's kind of one weird thing I want to do. Just to go. It's 20 minutes away from the convention center, so go pay a visit to the mothership and maybe get a sponsorship. I'll try to get free stuff. I'm not above begging. Well, that was the other things like you're saying. Accept things that people say. Lean into it. Some troll was just spamming the hell out of my chat yesterday, going, "Jeff's nothing but a grifter." Like, what? That's supposed to hurt my feelings? But you only have to say it once. Of course, I'm a grifter. I'm not doing this for my health. I'm just having fun.
Yeah. It's like the second you realize people enjoy it.
Yeah. Gamer Duckless says, Legal Vices. You know what's good content? Hot wings eat off. Rob has experience. I told Runkle next time he does it, send me the goods as well. I will participate. Has he shared a sample of his sauce with you? He
is shipping it to me. And he's like, "Do you want the low heat version?" I was like, "Just give me both. Like, just give me both." I think I have
why
like
do
20
I
hot
choose?
sauces. Like, yeah.
Well, see, Ian, send me them. I want to try them too. Jeez. Yeah, that's the good thing. I mean, I keep telling him he's got to come here because there's just the Korean spice is different than other spices, and then there's these places that I don't know if I know there's the hot sauce things in the States, but I don't like there's these things in Korea, these restaurants where that's their whole shtick is how hot can you handle their food. They know nobody's going to eat an entire bowl of stomach rotting death, but it's just how much of it can you eat before you tap out, which they're just fun to go.
I love talking to people who's like, "I love hot stuff." I was like, well, you realize there's different types of heat, and everyone says, "Well, that's kind of BS." Yeah, there are different types of heat, and you become acclimated to a certain like flavor of heat or a certain type of pepper. That Hot Ones challenge that we did, that was so much fun, except for the fact that Kurt was asking me bar questions as instead of like the interview questions. That last dab they give you, like the last little hot sauce.
I've heard that's actually hot.
I don't give a crap like what level of heat you're accustomed to. I don't care. That was scalding. That was like, this is miserable, but it was gone in like 5 minutes.
Except my son, he's into the Ian Runkle hot sauce drinking thing as well. And he got a bottle of it. He said, "Yeah, that's just hot."
Yeah, they don't mess around. It was good.
Like, how is it? Is it good? He's like, it's just hot.
Yep.
Oh wow, Tank Rat has gifted 12 Legal Vices memberships. Thank you so much, Tank Rat. Always generous of you. That is very, very kind. Appreciate that. If you're one of the lucky 20, give Tank Rat a special thank you. And he also has been being a member for 8 months of the Legal Vices Fallen Angels tier. He's a top tier guy for 8 months. Yo, what's up? Why are we talking about toys? we moved on. We moved on from toys. We'll probably get back there eventually before we're done. But yeah, so and that was like, you know, I think that kind of goes hand in hand, like what we were talking about. It's just embracing things, embracing the silliness that is this, because you see the people that are so serious about what they do, and you think you're just gonna have an aneurysm. I'm doing this for fun. I love talking to people. I love chatting with people. I'm so introverted in my normal human life that this sort of provides me the outlet that I need to actually interact with other people. I think
Me too. Why is that, by the way? I am the same damn way.
Well, I think I've thought a lot about it because I used to do when I was younger back in the States, do a lot of stage acting and things where I was me, but then I could go pretend to be someone else. And that's kind of how I am in the office as a lawyer as well. I wake up, I put on my lawyer costume, and I go play lawyer for however many days. And then I just revert back to myself. And I think I can do it here too. It's, you know, but this is sort of a place where I just get to let my guard down. And I say, if you don't like it, there's the damn door. If you like what you see, let's just come and hang out and have fun. So I think it kind of lets me do what I wish I could do out in regular, normal life.
But do you know how like ass backwards that is? Like I
know.
know I feel the same
know.
way. I feel the exact same way. Like I interact with people on a daily basis, regularly, whether it's clients, opposing counsel, etc. And I have a very small group of people that I communicate with and talk to. I'm really introverted.
Yeah.
Why am I more comfortable like on a live stream with a couple thousand people than I am in like a group of 50?
I think it's because, again, this is just my random thoughts that I've had. It's because they're here because they like you. They already think of you as a friend or someone they want to share something with. So that immediate layer of who are you, why are you talking to me, and what do you want from me is gone.
Yeah, that's true. Because the introduction part, it's always the introduction part. Going up and being like, they're like, who are you? And you're like, I am this person. And it's like they want to ask the 20 different questions. And every single answer is they're gauging or categorizing you with every single answer about what you give. Like, what do you do for a living? How much do you make? Where do you live? That, by the way, is the DC dating scene. Like,
yeah,
what do you do for a living? How much you make? Where do you live? It sucks. It's just easy to be who you are and not have to really answer questions about it.
Well, see, I figure if there is a hell out there, I hope it's not something that's tailored specifically to whoever is going into hell, because if it is, hell is going to be an eternity of a stand-up meet and greet reception.
Oh gosh.
I cannot imagine a worse hell. I hate receptions. I hate these. If I go with a group of people, I'm cool. But if I go there, I'm just desperately searching for someone I know, and then I'll stick to them the entire night. If they want to introduce me to someone, then I can open up a bit. But I'm not hi, I'm Jeff. I'm a lawyer. What do you do? How are you? You know, how long have you been in Korea? What's up? What's your business? Oh, tell me about your. I cannot just approach people and do that. I just
no. You make an acquaintance. You make an introduction. You meet somebody. You're like, you are now my safe place in this conversation. Yeah. We're just gonna hang out here.
No, and that's the thing with me. I would never talk to you in a million years if we were the only two. It's probably especially if we were the only two people in a gigantic, empty, stadium-sized room. I would just die alone, somehow trying to walk around to avoid talking to you. But if one of my friends came up and said, "Hey, I want you to meet my friend Rob. Rob, this is my friend Jeff." You know, we'd click and we'd be friends in a heartbeat.
Yep. Aussie Overlord coming in, Hayden coming in. Hell equals after the CLE. What is it? After the CLE conference reception? Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty much that's it. Rick Nikita again says, "Who are you?" I'm Alfarius every single time. Well, see, that as some of you may know and may have heard, that's why I have the intro. Because every time since 1995, anytime anybody asks for my ID in an official capacity, I think I just might start doing it when they ask for my business card or something. I just always say Lilo Dallas Multipass because I think it's just the funniest thing ever. I said when it works with like TSA, it really, really works. When it doesn't work, it fails hard.
I can just
But it's
imagine.
great when the TSA asks for your boarding pass, you're like Lilo Dallas Multipass. And sometimes they'll laugh. Sometimes
Cowboy
they
hat
look
goes
like
flying.
Yeah.
Jeff goes flying to the other side of the
Yeah.
room, gets decked.
so sometimes it's like anal probe for this one.
Oh God.
Joe Choi says, I'll come, Jeff. No spicy food though, may be an issue. Yeah, it's definitely an issue here in Korea. If you don't like fish, if you don't like spicy foods, if you don't like rice, this ain't the place. I don't know how vegans survive here. I really, really don't.
They don't. They are weeded out of those cultures.
Oh, they do. My ex-wife was one, and somehow she survived.
On what? On what? How?
Thankfully, she became a vegan after we divorced. But I remember that was one of the funniest things because when my son was coming to spend the weekend with me, he said, "What's for dinner, Dad?" I just jokingly said salad. And he actually started crying. He was like 12 years old. And I'm like, what? He goes, it's too green. I want meat. I'm like, I was just messing with you. Of course, we're having steak. Duh.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, my theory with vegetables is that the animal got there first. It ate the vegetable so I can eat the animal.
Right.
That's the logic.
Right.
I don't care
Or,
if it works. I'm sticking with it.
If we weren't meant to eat animals, why did God make them taste so darn delicious?
Kind of. So yeah.
That's my favorite episode of The Simpsons where they're talking about the pig. And he's like, you get bacon and ham and pork chops. And Homer's like, oh, sure, this magical, wonderful mystery beast or whatever he's saying. But yeah, if you can't do spicy foods, it can be rough here in Korea.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, and Jeffer says, you're just a bitch if you can't handle the last dab. I'd love to try it. So,
Okay, I did it.
I figure there might be some good hot sauces lined up somewhere in Houston to buy. So,
Oh, there's got to be. Yeah. There's got to
that's the other time I think my son was so happy he cried is when I bought him like this gigantic 18 bottle hot sauce sampler for one of his birthdays. Oh, wow. Well, there we go. Gee, we'll read Bella's first and then we'll read Alice's. Bella Stella dropping the heat, bringing the Middle Eastern currency to us. Hi, Rob. Good to see you here. Oh, and hi, Jeff. Release the hounds. Gotta find the hounds. Where is the other hound? Where the hell did Strawberry go? Let me find out.
Wait, Strawberry is the other one?
Oh well, I don't know where she went, but we do have a sleeping Yoda behind me. That's weird. I'm wondering, like, Strawberry's always the one that hangs out here. Well, here's our guest for the day. Thank you so much for that, Bella Stella. By the way, let's spin this around and sleeping dog. There we go. There's your lump o' meat. Yoda's just dead to the world. Yeah.
Do your dogs answer to English or Korean or both?
Well, Strawberry, her name is Thargi in Korean. If you call her Strawberry, she won't answer you. You have to call her name in Korean. Yoda is just dumber than a bucket of rocks. He doesn't. Yeah, he had a nutritional deficiency as a young puppy, and he's kind of not all there. He doesn't even know his name. So he's just kind of the dumb guy. But nah, let me call Strawberry one more time. That's weird. She's usually hanging out here. I wonder if she's not locked in a room somewhere. That's kind of funny. While we're doing that, Alice Elliott, who has a super chat here, said, I would like to hear Rob's thoughts on the Zach Anderson trial.
I haven't. I mean, I've shared my thoughts on that. I thought the trial itself was, I know that people are upset about the prosecutor and what he did. I wish people realized how common that was. Prosecutors overstepping, how far they overstep, how many times you see it. That trial didn't break my soul as much. It pissed me off. It really pissed me off.
Yeah.
But that happens a lot more than people are comfortable with.
Oh, it does. And I that's why I think it's a good thing that we're starting to see more cameras in the courtroom.
Yes.
And I'm a firm, and I've been, as a trial lawyer, I'd be interested in hearing your opinion on these things, and especially the I can see where it might be a little trickier in family law things where you've got children and whatnot. But I think generally, from a traffic ticket to a mass murderer, every single thing that ever happens in a court should be available to watch somewhere.
It should be. The only exception is when you're dealing with like for example, custody battles, et cetera, like
Yeah.
that. Because the public doesn't need to know what's going on in the inner workings of the family dynamic. That's very different. That's one parent's rights, another parent's rights. They don't need to see that. That's why juvenile court is off limits. But in larger cases, where even cases of a divorce, the public has a right to know, and we can if we try to go and seal these divorce filings, there's a pushback from the judges. They don't just immediately seal it. They say you have to give us a reason. Yeah. Solomon Anderson. So Solomon, I know, has been making the rounds. I caught his interview with a bunch of different people, and I thought he's a very well-spoken man, and he knows a ton of these facts. What drives me nuts is that torment, watching him go through that, knowing how many other people go through that as well, and then kind of being in this position where there's not a lot you can do. Like, I wish there was more. The only the thing you do is you get more traction. You show more of these trials. You show more of this stuff going on. You have more commentators that are going out, not just saying someone should always be guilty, but actually holding the higher burden. I had this opinion about the Murdoch trial. That trial was a nightmare.
Yeah, and I mean, opinions. That was comparatively speaking, comparing that to the Zachariah Anderson trial, Murdoch was just loaded with evidence. I mean, that's how bad
I know
the Anderson trial was. And it's like, there's a lot of people saying, oh, where he's innocent. And I was straight up, because I started doing it. And the first day I realized someone claiming to be his sister was in this chat. And I'm like, all right. So I reached out, did some due diligence, and found out that not only was she his sister, but also Solomon was there, and Solomon's partner was there. So family members of the guy on trial were watching my stream live. And that was kind of an interesting burden for me. It's like I told her, I said, look, I'm calling this as I see it. Yeah. And I also have a really dark, irreverent streak through me. When I make jokes, I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm just doing it to lighten the mood and just, stream of consciousness talking. But you might not like some of the things you hear. You might not like my opinions, but I'm going to do it. And they were cool with it. They liked everything, but it did sort of make me focus on how I present things, because the big deal was the Law and Crime called it the obsessed ex-boyfriend murder trial.
I hate that. I really hate that. You start to see these networks really leaning into the clicks and views.
Yeah.
And the major network media, right? They're leaning into clicks and views. And you're going, this is a bunch of crap. Why are you're calling it these things to just get attention on it? And by the very title you choose, you're showing your hand of how people should view it.
Yeah.
There hasn't been the presumption of death in that case bothered me. Like, they just assumed from the title of how it was displayed.
Yeah.
The murder trial. Why?
Yep.
How? Tell me, get step one. How did you get to step one?
Yeah, it all boils down to the girlfriend who does a wellness check on her boyfriend, who she's met maybe 6 times over the past 2 months, because he didn't. Who does a wellness check on someone if you haven't received an answer to a text message for 12 hours? She does the wellness check.
Let me tell you who does. The people who do are the ones when you're in domestic. When there's jealousy, or when there's the suggestion of cheating, or when there's that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
You
And
get the text message going like, "Hey, I haven't heard from you a little bit," and then all of a sudden you drive over. You're like, "You didn't respond. I was worried," trying to catch him in the act.
and funny you should say that, because the
I
day
know.
he went missing was the day he was supposed to be going out meeting another woman who he didn't show up for. But yeah, so that's how it happened. She does this wellness check after 12 hours, comes and just sees different stories about how she saw the blood, and she calls the police and says, "Oh, I bet I know who did it. My stalking ex-boyfriend." And then it's target fixation at that point. And I mean, that's what I was straight up with him, and I said, "Look, I don't know if he's guilty or not. All I know is there is no way by any stretch of the imagination you can say that was proven beyond anything resembling a reasonable doubt." Well, hell, Gravely, even in his closing statements, every third word was maybe. Maybe he did this. Maybe.
Maybe.
And anytime a prosecutor says maybe, that means maybe
kick it
not,
out.
case closed. Yeah.
See you later.
And
Bye.
his
Bye.
closing arguments were maybe this happened. Well, maybe he went and did this. Well, maybe this happened, Gravely. But then again, you think he trained Binger. So there you go.
But that's the thing is, you see Gravely, and we imagine that Gravely is he's the exception. He's this. No. He oftentimes, look, prosecutors, the top prosecutor in the county or state is an elected position.
Mhm.
Cameras in the courtrooms have like good positives and good negatives. Well, positives and negatives. The other problem with having cameras in the courtrooms is now you have created a stage. You have created a stage where these politicians, political appointees, who are, and oftentimes they're masquerading as attorneys, they now have a brand new audience to reach, and they have sound bites that they can get. And how cool is it to hear yourself in court on a little sound bite where you have a gotcha moment?
Yeah.
And you see them get into the courtroom. I mean, look what Binger did during Rittenhouse. He was playing for the cameras half the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, hell, I mean, that's all. That was Elaine's fall 2 line there on in the Depp trial. Well, you knew this was going to be televised, didn't you? You knew that blew up in her face twice. You knew you just did this for your 15 minutes of fame. It's like, no, I think it might be the other way. But as you're saying, I mean, it's unfortunate. My U.S. criminal trial experience is based on Utah has a 3rd-year practice rule where you can either go to if you want to do an internship, you can go to the public defender's office, you can go to the civil clinic. I'm not sure if they had one of the prosecutor's office or not, but I went to the public defender's office, and hell, third year, you get to do everything as long as you're under the tutelage of a licensed lawyer from the office. I think I did 8 trials in my 3rd year of law school. And they were just all minor, misdemeanor things. But like you said, I've had my very first case was a prosecutor. It was clearly self-defense. Girl comes home, finds her brother's ex-girlfriend stealing something out of their van. She went to take it back. They got in this struggle over this attempt to steal something. The ex-girlfriend smashed her in the head with a purse with a Gatorade bottle in it, and the sister fought back, and they charged both of them. And I said, literally, do you want to be humiliated by a 3rd-year law student walking you through the chapter the criminal law chapter in the textbook on self-defense law? And the night, 9 p.m., the night before jury selection, he called and said, well, how about a 6-month plea in abeyance? I said, no, she's got a stomach ulcer from wondering if she's going to have a criminal career for trying to protect her goods for the last year while waiting to go to trial. No, it's not going to happen. And he said, well, if I'm not going to be prosecuting her, then I'll just be prosecuting someone else.
Okay.
And then I had another lawyer who Danny was running against. Danny's back when he was a practicing lawyer, Sim Gill, the now district attorney in Salt Lake. His line to me was, well, that's just how we play the game. So yeah, it's not a game to the client. But like you said, this is not the exception. I don't know if it's the rule, but it is way more common than calling something an exception.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those, it's just, it's hard to watch. It's harder to explain. And because you wish people would get up in arms and be, so for everyone who's saying Gravely he's a monstrosity, he's a terrible person, there is another person out there that views him as being their patron saint. He locked away a bad guy because even though there wasn't a body they found, that couldn't have been for any other reason than him. The problem with that is that's not how the law works. Like that's not, you can have suspicion. You can have all the conclusions you want. You can have every single like line fall into place. That is not how the law works. And it's a scary place to be where that's how we start convicting people. Because this is something where history teachers need to start freaking teaching history again, and why I like these old trials. And you asked about, the sitting down and having conversations, why I like these unique facts, because these things, they are not new. This is not new. Yeah. These are things that we have been through before. And history teachers need to pick up not just the book, but actually get to know the actual raw facts of a trial or raw facts of history, so they can explain it in a way that makes this stuff scary to everybody, because it is, and it should be.
That's one of the reasons why I do the O.J. Simpson thing every Thursday, is because, you're looking at F. Lee Bailey, Barry Scheck, two of the greatest legal defense minds that have ever walked planet Earth. You get to see what a master craftsman, a master defense lawyer does, and watch him practice his craft. You get to see how prosecutors can screw things up very easily. And I think it's important to see that, and again, I don't do it to change anybody's mind. If you don't have an opinion about O.J. Simpson 28 years after the thing went to trial, you're just not trying. But I do it to show how the idea of reasonable doubt can be put into the minds of a juror by focusing on police procedural problems, on prosecutorial mistakes, and things like that. Because we don't get to see that enough. We just see, oh, this guy's a crappy prosecutor. Oh, this guy's a crappy defense lawyer. We don't get to see a lot of the master craftsman doings. I guess maybe that's something you can relate to as a wood craftsman. When you're making your first thing, and then you're looking at some great master craftsman who's crafted something out of the same damn block of wood as you. It gives you something to aspire to. It gives something to look at.
There's a learning by doing process. Like, speaking of which, I have my new pens. Have you seen these yet?
Oh yeah, I was looking at those. Those were like way cool. I like those. Oh, I didn't know they actually did that. Wow, that's cool.
Yep. But that's like learning a skill, whether it's cross-examination, whether it's woodworking, whether it's public speaking. The first time you do it, it's terrible. Mm-hmm. And the best way I've always learned is by watching others do that exact thing.
And someone trained gravely to do that. Someone trained gravely trained Binger. You can see this. And that's the interesting thing about me here in Korea, being a Korean speaking foreigner. I don't hang around with occasionally I'll have Mormon missionaries over for dinner. Just to kind of give them a taste of home. But now there's so many Western things here that it doesn't happen that often, because they can go to Costco, they can go to IKEA. They don't need me. But back in the day, I used to have them over all the time, because you can't get a turkey here on Thanksgiving unless you have your connections, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I would have them over, and I would hear, hearing them speak Korean and things, I would hear them 15, 20 years removed from my experience as a missionary here. I would hear them using these same linguistic tics or the same mistakes that I could trace back to the guy who started it when I was here. Like, yeah, he used to say that. And then you can trace it back. So it's a generational thing with whatever you do. If you hate a prosecutor, he learned it from somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody told him that's how you do it. And defense lawyers don't get fired if they lose cases. The public defender isn't going to lose his job if his client is found guilty. Prosecutors, on the other hand, that is a numbers game. If they keep losing cases, they don't get reelected. They get fired from their job. And I think it's interesting that how many as a practicing lawyer who deals with people as they move to different phases of their life. For me, the answer is zero. The question that I'm going to ask is, oftentimes judges will retire and they will go be a defense lawyer. Prosecutors will retire and they'll go work as a defense lawyer. How many defense lawyers have you seen change to become prosecutors? I've never heard of one.
None. They don't.
Why is
what
that?
we actually, I mean, one of the problems that I have is the selection of judges. So prosecutors are in court every day. That's their job, literally in court every single day. Defense lawyers are in court as many times as their client needs them to be in court. And that's based on the clientele you have. If you're a public defender, your client is the public. You are there every day. You are working your ass off. Prosecutors there every day. Other members of the bar, oh, just puppy doggy, Yoda.
Wake up, Yoda.
Other members of the bar are there based on their client's individual needs, domestic relations, family law. I'm in court usually once a week, sometimes simple motions, sometimes full trials, but not every single day. Well, when people go to select judges, the problem that they make is they mistake this abundance of presence in the courtroom as translating over to, well, this person should now be a judge. The problem is all of their experience comes from one facet of legal practice. And prosecutors and public defenders, you get jaded real quick. For a prosecutor, if you are in front of them about 3 or 4 years into their prosecution job, 3 or 4 years into being a prosecutor, they have now reached this jaded position where every single person that is brought before them on charges is guilty of something, whether it's this or something else, so they don't care anymore. Public defenders, a lot of them think the same thing. Their client is there and they're very likely guilty because prosecutors don't often get them wrong. They get jaded so damn quick that they start applying the law that way. And then the judges oftentimes get selected from the criminal bar. So you get judges that are in power, direct translation for the prosecutors. You know what you don't see? You don't see a lot of contract attorneys. You don't see a lot of mergers acquisitions attorneys. You don't see a lot of family law attorneys. You don't see a lot of the other types of practicing attorneys elevate to the bar or elevate to the judgeships. And the judges are the ones, they are the trainers of every attorney in their courtroom. So you have this never-ending cycle where you appear in front of a judge. The judge likes things done a certain way, so you take the position a certain way. And you don't become a judge unless you were in the prosecutor's office or public defender, and then you become a judge to train more attorneys. It just keeps going. It's got to stop at some point.
I haven't thought of that. It's interesting. You're right. Well, I don't know how we can stop it. Utah is that all judges are appointed, but they stand for retention elections.
Yes.
So you don't really have a choice over who gets appointed to be a judge. You get to have a say in whether or not you keep them around. And the same with the district attorneys. It's an elected position. And I mean, how often do we go to the voting booth? We have our candidates we know, and then we go, prosecutor, judge, hell, I don't know. He's, just check him off. We'll just vote to retain him. Why not? But I'm hoping now that, again, some of these streams and some of these trials will cause people to think, wait a minute, I don't know anything about this prosecutor. Let me see what kind of cases he handles. Let me see what kind of judgments he has. Do some research on a judge before voting for them to retain them. You might find out they're not really good people.
Yeah.
How else do we stop it other than just educating ourselves?
No, that's it. It's the education. So, Zachariah Anderson, right? That circling back to where we started with this, that whole trial. I know, and I saw that there were people commenting that Barnes is helping with the appeal. I will tell you that appeals, and this is me just shooting it straight. Judges are pretty good at trying to appeal proof their decisions or decisions in their courtroom, and appellate judges are even better at dodging issues. If appellate judges don't want to hear a case, they will find a way not to hear a case.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of the beauty that the Supreme Courts get. They can just say no, and they don't even have to explain why they're not going to hear your appeal. They're like, nah, we're done. We're just denied.
But it's Solomon Anderson. It's Solomon. It's Zachariah Anderson. It's Solomon coming out and explaining that trial and the way he does it. And leaving open questions and people being able to see that. But it's not just Solomon Anderson. And this is kind of the unfortunate part about it. It's never one case that's going to change a system or change a judge or change everything over. It's several. The law is a very, very, very slow moving thing. And it's several trials that show several injustices that finally get people looking and saying, well, what if that's happening where I live?
I mean, and then even that, the law is scarily arbitrary. I mean, a judge has a bad day and he can make some not appealable, but some really bad decisions. He's had a bad day. If you get him in a day he or she fought with their spouse before they coming to work, they can be in pissy moods and take it out on people. And which is like with the Murdoch case. I don't see how that judge was allowed to hear that high profile of a case 2 weeks after his son died. I thought that was just kind of, a little bit odd.
That's tough. But the judges also, the thing is, they're the first arbiter of their own judgment.
Right.
Find me an appellate judge that's gonna at least not stop there and look at that as their way to not answer the question.
Right. No, just wait. Well, why didn't this judge recuse himself? Okay, you're the one. You have to ask the judge to kick himself off the trial for doing something inappropriate or having an inappropriate relationship with someone. He's not going to go, oh yeah, I do have an inappropriate relationship, so I'm going to recuse myself.
And people in the chat, we're not trying to blackpill everybody here, because the thing is, the converse happens as well, because you see good judges, you see good attorneys, you see good practitioners, you get to see people that are really masters at their craft, and you don't get a ton of them, but you get enough judges that really do give a damn. I mean, Law Talk with Mike has Judge Manning, and someone commenting about this. I see Judge Manning. People drop the name in the chat.
Yeah,
Judge Manning's a damn good judge.
She is awesome.
You get to see that, and she does. You think she gets the amount of praise that she deserves? She gets through a docket of like 50 people in like 35-45 minutes, and she does it in a fair fashion. She hears trials, and you hear the no bullshit, no nonsense way that she handles the trials. She's a damn good judge.
You can't argue with that. Sorry if everybody's feeling black-pilled by it, but I mean, the problem is when you do have the bad judges, they're literally life and death decisions that these judges can be making. And a couple of questions are raised here in the chats here. I have a few things starred. Let's talk about some of these things. New to Legal Vices, Jessica P has been lighting up the YouTube comments recently. Thank you so much for that, Jessica P, and welcome. Thank you so much for the super chat too. Finally catching a live stream. Love Rob's channel too. Really enjoying the interview. Don't worry, I did my job and hit the like. Well, thank you very much. Speaking of which, we got 714 people here and 570 likes. That's a pretty darn good ratio, but it still means 130 of you haven't done your job. Get down there and hit the like button right now. Hit the subscribe button and make sure you are subscribed to Law and Lumber, which, like, if you're not, I don't understand that at all, because he's the person we all aspire to be.
No, don't say that. Don't put me up. Don't put me on a pedestal.
And let's see, American Dreamer. Robert Barnes is helping with the appeal. Yes, he said he would pro bono as much as he could. Anything that you need help with, which is awesome, because if you're going to have a guy working on your side, he's one of the guys you want to have. So that's an awesome thing for him to do. Lady Trisha Lawyer, what's up, Lady Lawyer? I don't know Zach, but my soul believes he's innocent. And I respect people that feel that way, but I'm a callous old SOB, and I just don't know. I wasn't there.
There's a plausible. Here's the thing, and this is kind of jumping in for Jeff on this one. If there's a plausible explanation that isn't guilt, then the law cannot and should not convict him.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm always saying is that you have to assume when you walk into a trial, have your own opinions. Have your own opinions about what you think happened, whether you think they might be guilty or not. But when you watch the trial, you must assume that the prosecutors have screwed up. You have to presume they brought charges against the wrong guy. You have to assume they are trying to find an innocent person guilty. And then they have to prove to you that they are correct. And the standard, the cliche standard is, what if this evidence was presented against your sister, brother, mother, whatever? Would you be comfortable with that judgment? Yeah. And that's where you have to look at trials. That's the filter you have to watch them through. And it's hard to do. I get that. And like I said, lawyers are, we're weird people. We have this ability to have a dichotomy in our head that we don't need resolved. I think he's guilty, but I think he should go free because X, Y, and Z. That's a thing that normal people don't even want to think about.
Yep.
But
I know, and I think law schools are losing that though, because you see younger lawyers and they will argue. I will tell them, they'll come to me and I'll say, tell me your position, tell me your case, and they'll tell me the case, and I'll look right back to them and say, okay, tell me the other guy's case. Make me believe the other guy's case. Make me believe it. Like, you have to be able to argue both sides with equal fervor, equal passion, equal understanding. You have to. If your brain cannot think that way, then, and if you're only taking clients that reinforce your position of the world or reinforce how you perceive the world to be, you are not an effective lawyer. You have no business doing this job. I'm sorry, there's the door.
Well, you can't have tunnel vision. You just can't.
No.
In any field. In anything, you can't lock onto one thing and think that is the only view, because you're going to be challenged and you have to be able to anticipate what the other guy is going to be saying. But like you say, run it through their filter. How are they looking at this? What are they seeing? You have to understand that point of view to understand your own case, your own proposal, your own business meeting, your own freaking TED Talk or whatever it is you're doing. You have to think devil's advocate. You have to think from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's literally one thing. Every single letter I write, I think, okay, if the opponent got a hold of this letter, what would he say? And I also think, all right, I know what I mean to write, but how is the client who is receiving this letter? How are they going to receive this? What are they going to think? What are they going to go, I don't understand this part. What's going to be there is you have to process through the other side's filter in anything you do to be successful at it, I think.
Mm-hmm. And the mainstream media is intellectually lazy. They're intellectually lazy. They have zero desire to give the other side. If they hear an echo chamber coming back to them from their audience is saying this person seems sketchy, they run with that and they don't challenge it. They have no desire to push back.
That sounds so boring to me.
It's stupid.
I love when I hear opposing viewpoints. I love when people challenge me, when people make me think. If it was just everybody, blowing smoke up my backside, this would be really boring.
Yeah. I like being wrong.
I don't like being wrong, and I will hold on to my wrong position until I'm literally forced on pain of death to relinquish it. Then I'll say, "Oh well, we're both right?
We're both right. No, we're equally wrong. No, we're not. Sometimes you can be just wrong, but you have to. It's if you're never wrong. It's like if you never bump your knee, skin your knee, or bust your ass. If you don't fall, how are you gonna know what it's like? Like, how do you know what that pain feels like and learn not to do it again?
Yeah, I'm just a despicable human being, because I will insist on I am right long after I've been proven wrong.
until like you're alone in your room and you look in the mirror and you're like, I was probably wrong on that one.
Yeah.
Wipe that from the memory. No one will ever know. Yeah.
Mandalore Wise says, counter to the teacher point. The same teachers that are fighting tooth and nail to keep prawns in the classroom and make kids hate themselves via race. There's good and bad in every position, in every profession.
Well, and that's the other point is people are making this the big issue. Why? Like, can we talk about math for a little bit and how kids can't do it anymore? They don't know how to do the math thing or reading and writing. anything of substance. Why is this the main issue? Like, I get it. It's very significant. I understand that. Damn it. Can we teach kids? Like, actually teach them.
Well, and that's
They're
the thing
idiots.
is, my sister is a second grade teacher. And that's her thing is like, we don't want to be teaching this stuff, but we also want to eat and put food on the table. So we have to teach what we're told to teach. We don't want to. I jokingly once said, well, if I ever decide to leave my job here in Korea, I'll just go be a teacher. And she said, I will never speak to you again if you become a teacher.
Where the hell is home ec? Is home ec still a thing? Because that was, wood shop.
Right.
You guys like, people laugh about like the woodworking stuff or joke about that. That's a big part of my life because it's an outlet. It gives me understanding of other things as well. Home ec, you were taught to balance your checkbook. We were taught to do laundry. Civics, do laundry. Here's how to cook. Here's how to bake a cake. This is how you measure food. This is how you do the normal stuff that you need to learn to survive.
Yeah.
Why can't we teach kids that anymore? Because the number of kids it's like, go do laundry. And they're like, what? Or like, they wouldn't be able to feed themselves if they didn't have someone feeding them for you. Like, oh.
Yeah, and that's what I always told my son, because I mean, just dude, watch me cook. You like to eat, you like to cook. Now watch me learn something. And he's like, no. And then he moves out on his own. He's like, oh my God, I wish I would have paid attention when you're trying to teach me to cook. Like, well, no better time than the present to learn. But let's get back to that woodworking thing here in a minute, because I want to talk about that. Tank Rat, again, thank you so much for the super chat. Everyone who is against Rittenhouse are because of the headlines that were factually false. Everybody's like, oh, he murdered 3 people, three unarmed people that were just minding their own business, and half the people think they were black. And it's exactly right. I mean, it's headlines, it's headline reading, it's regurgitation. Rittenhouse hate resurfaced on Twitter again. Yeah, they're going through another round of that. I saw it in the past few days. People still believe Amber got on a plane bloody and cut up because of the headlines. Right.
Yep.
And it's the point where the mainstream media stopped reporting the news and started making the news.
Or commenting on parts of it they thought were cool.
Yeah. With the clickbait headlines.
Yeah.
Mandalore Wise again. Thank you so much for the additional super chat. I just don't see them putting that much effort into their job as expected from parents and the public. Are we talking about teachers again?
I think it's teachers. And the thing is, I don't like category. I know a few really good teachers, So I don't like just saying teachers as a whole category of teachers.
Well, see, I can't, because I know my sister is at school till 11, 12, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning, because she literally cares about the students, because she has to do her best to protect them from the things that everybody talks about.
Yeah. So I don't like to just say teachers are this one thing or not, because they're individuals, just like lawyers, just like judges. You can't just categorize them broadly. You can say that there are a bunch of specific bad apples that you would very much like to have a conversation with, or kick out of that program or that school, but I don't like to just say them broadly.
And Fondian, hey, what's up? So basically spend everything you have on appeals that are pretty much the same odds of winning the lottery.
Yeah.
The system is screwed. It's not. It's in theory designed to protect the defendant, but
the aim of the system is that there's a whole lot riding on getting it right the first time.
Yeah. Do you think it's well, let's get one more super chat, then I'll have to make sure I remember these things. Remember that if I forget, remind me that I'm supposed to talk about getting it right the first time. Yeah. Susanna says, great to catch you live. It was Rob mentioning Jeff's Maritime Mondays that made me check it out. Well, thank you, Rob. And thank you, Susanna, for listening to Rob. Deeply appreciate that. I love it ever since, and often listen to it during work. So thank you both. Well, thank you, Susanna. And thank you, Rob, again.
You're welcome.
Max Schmidt said, I hope the term Karen stays over generations. It's just too funny. All right. And Angst Kitten. That's a great name. Angst Kitten. Legal advice is, what kind of things can you look into about a judge? For most of my local elections, it feels like there's very little info at all. What would you suggest other than looking at, Google them?
Talk
that's
to
about the
lawyer
only-
friends.
Hmm.
So if you have friends that are lawyers, if you have friends that have been through, here's a good one. If you have friends that have been through divorces, custody battles,
Mm.
and that's a good, the reason that's a good one is that's one where statistically speaking, you're going to have somebody that's close to you that's been through that.
Yeah.
Talk to them. Just ask them about either the lawyer that was there, the judge that handled the case, etc. And you can find info. It's just you have to do a little work.
And Aussie Overlord says, Law and Lumber, mate, you are on a pedestal anyway. It's a week later and Scarlett is still talking about the king of the unicorns. Aww.
Thanks, Hayden.
No. Okay, it's getting it right the first time.
Getting it right the first time.
Do you think this attitude of not wanting to be appealed or whatnot is causing laziness in the judiciary? Because I think we saw it in the first round of Judge Schrader with Rittenhouse. We saw it in Murdoch. We saw it in the Anderson trial. We've seen it in other trials. The judges that are just like, okay, I'm going to allow everything in. And if you have a problem, take it up with the appeals judge. The laziness, or I don't know if it's laziness or if it's fear of making a decision that could be overturned on appeal. Do you feel there's sort of this I don't know, cowardice, laziness, something in the judiciary that is making judges be far more permissive than they should be?
I don't want to call it laziness or fear. I would say here's the thing. There are different kind of judicial interpretations or kind of what would we call it? Like not following or ascribing, like when you're practices, like just there's modus operandi. There are the judges that their first inclination is create a wall and then only allow certain things beyond the wall. Then there are judges that kind of say, don't create the wall, listen to everything, and that I or the finder of fact is capable and of parsing through their own prejudices and biases. And what you'll find is, let me put it this way. I have the rule that always comes to mind for me is that I will give people the benefit of the doubt and will constantly be proven wrong, like, or proven, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt and believing that they can reach a conclusion, putting out all their internal biases to the side and actually applying the facts to law. But I'm constantly proven wrong in that regard. And there are judges that have that viewpoint, and it's a good little bit to have, except that's not their job. They have to be uncomfortable. They have to be uncomfortable. They have to be the gatekeeper to information in some regard. And a lot of them they don't want to be uncomfortable. They either have not been proven wrong enough, which is the appeals part, like the appellate court hasn't come back down and smacked them down enough, or they're just not doing their job.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know what the word is. Like, cowardice, lazy. That's not really the word, but like, it's just their job is to judge, and they're not judging.
The errors are so small in their mind. So hearsay, everyone talks about hearsay because it's like the one place where you really get a lot of this vetted out. Judges have a lot of leeway in getting to an exception for hearsay and whether that statement qualifies. And then the appellate court backs them up a lot. Getting an appeal overturned on an evidentiary finding is not going to happen. Just the numbers on that are so slim, you might as well play the lottery, because if you plan on winning on that particular issue, just play the lottery. Your odds are so much better because of how much leniency is given to the judge in making those judgment calls. It would be better if the appellate court started taking some of those issues more seriously. Give us interlocutory appeals on issues of evidence. Let us do, so to the chat, an interlocutory appeal is while the proceeding is ongoing, a judge makes a ruling. That ruling, you say, is so significant that this could completely side rail the trial. There's no possibility of a fair trial after this. Allow me to appeal this before you create a problem we can't undo later. For example, in some of these pretrial motions on whether evidence is included or excluded, right? A lot of these are done by pretrial motions, motion in limine, and a judge makes the judgment call.
Mhm.
And I think that judges need to be forced to make that call. That part pissed me off about Schroeder, about other judges you see, is they kind of say, well, I can't wait. I'll only be able to tell when it comes in. It's like, no, we briefed the motion. We know it's a big issue. We both have contrary versions of how this should get in or should not get in. Make the call now. Make it now. Don't just say, I'm going to wait and we'll see. Make it now so that I can then go and get an interlocutory appeal, and an appellate court judge can say you were either right or wrong, because that can completely change the disposition of this trial. And it changes how I strategize going forward. The jailhouse snitch in the Zachariah Anderson case, they changed their entire narrative of the murder weapon.
Yep.
Based on the jailhouse snitch.
Yeah.
That should have, that one bit of evidence being allowed to come in versus being excluded changes the entire framework of a trial. Imagine if that ruling was made prior to that. Just stop the judge objection. And the judge makes a ruling and say, okay, great. Thanks for the ruling. Thanks for not just letting me get this coming in later, like just at some whim when I can't understand or see how it's going to be heard by a jury. Let me now appeal this up and have the appellate court look at it. So that kind of stuff.
It's so frustrating. And I don't even do U.S. courtroom stuff, and it just frustrates me to see it happening. Because I mean, it's literally right there in your job title, judge. Go judge something. And I get, the one thing I do like about Schrader is the way he talks through every single objection. He said it. I do this I do these speaking decisions here so that when it invariably gets appeals, the appellate court knows exactly what I was thinking and why I ruled the way I did. But to spend 15 minutes and beginning every explanation with, back when Cicero and I were having coffee together, and then talking about irrelevant stuff. And then at the end, he says, well, it's not a problem now. We'll talk about it again if it ever comes up. It's a problem because they're bringing it up right now. You're just delaying it and hoping it goes away.
And let me, if I could just give an example in the family law case, because this is where I see judges get this stuff wrong a lot. There was a case that I had where there was opposing counsel on the other side. Both of us are pretty decent attorneys. We've been practicing family law for a long time. And we have a father and a mother, and they cannot agree. So we're going forward to trial. And we present a trial, and we're there for a full day. We're presenting all the evidence. And the judge at the end of the trial says, well, you know what? I've heard a lot of information about this, but I think the parties need to do better at working together. This is a custody issue on making a decision for where this child's going to go to school. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this out for 3 months, and I'm going to implore the parties to try and negotiate in good faith to find a resolution. I was like, Judge, we have had this case. The opposing counsel and I have had this case for the last 6.5 months. You don't think we've made every effort, and now magically, because you, Judge, have said there's a risk, you're going to change all of their decisions, all their discussions? So 3 more months is going to happen. You know what happened
in family court because they're really good at making decisions together.
Exactly. You know what happened in the next 3 months? Mom went out and bought a puppy to try and basically persuade the child that the child might just want to spend more time with mom. Dad went out and found a new condo that was located in the school district that was there. Mom went out and found a home, like a single bedroom home that was outside the school district that would have caused the child to move and relocate again. More things happened in that 3-month period that was harmful to that child than just had the judge made the decision right then. Make the call.
I bless you for the family court stuff. I don't have the temperament for that. There were no children involved in the one divorce case I handled. And there's no way in hell I'm ever doing another family law case ever again. I just couldn't sit there. And my client included both sides acting like 7-year-old, 30-year-olds.
Adult children.
And I just, every day that I had to deal with him was just, it was torture for me. Like, and God bless family law people that can do those things and put up with that, because I don't have the temperament. I know my limits. I don't even like negotiation. I hate negotiating with because, you know, if I say we'll give you 100 and you'll say no, you'll give me 0, we know we're gonna end up at 50.
Yeah,
Stop. We're gonna end up there.
That's I call them the old guard and the new guard. Like the old guard are the ones that come in. They're like, well, we have to start from 0 and you have to start at 100 because that's how we've always done it.
Yeah.
And the new guard are like, can we just cut through the bullshit? Like we both know where we're going to end up. It's going to be in this, 40 to 60 range, somewhere in there. And we're going to piss and moan about it. But at the end of the day, the trade-off is going to happen. Like it's going to exist because we both know that the judge is going to decide somewhere in this 40 to 60 range. So.
Yeah, and this is a case that I'm working on right now. This was the last letter I wrote before I left the office today. It's something that happened a year ago. Been going back and forth with opponent counsel for 7-8 months now. And the first initial opinion letter to the client was, we're looking to probably settle right around 50%. We're the getting money side. It's like, okay, after all of this, the other side is more liable, but to prove that, we're going to spend a year in court. It's going to cost you $35,000 at least to get through this, and the appeals, and then it's just going to be a mess. 50%. Let's just go and offer them a 50% deal. No. It has to be 80% they're liable, 20% we're liable. Gee, guess what the exact answer to that offer was from the opponents? No, we're 80% liable. You're 20% liable. I mean, you're 80% liable. We're 20% liable. And for the last 7-8 months, we've been doing this. Every side gives 5%. The other side gives 5%. One side gives 5%. The other. And where are we today? We sent a letter last week saying, all right, we'll agree to settle this. We're 60. We've agreed on the quantum. We've agreed on the claim amount, the acceptable claim amount. Now we're just arguing about apportionment of liability, which is good. So, okay, we'll settle if you admit to 60% liability, and we'll take 40% liability. The answer we got from them last Friday was, no. You're 60% liable. We're 40% liable. So here we are 8 months later, finally getting to write the letter going, okay, they said 60-40. We said 40-60. Why don't we go back and offer them that 50-50 settlement offer that we talked about 8 months ago? And I know that's where it's going to end. So I hate that because it takes money from the clients pointlessly. And then they come back and they get the bills and they go, well, why is this so goddamn much? Why was your bill so high? It's like, well, if we would have ended this 8 months ago, it wouldn't have been high. We're doing this because we spend a great deal of time writing letters to you, trying to convince you why we have to give ground. And I hate that because, like I said, the clients don't like it, the opponents don't like it, and you're stuck in the middle representing your client. But it's the old guard. That's just the way you have to do it. I would much rather go in and go what we just did. All right, Rob, look, I know you want all the money, we want all the money. Yeah. We know it's going to come down. We know it's going to, like I said, somewhere in the 40 to 60 range, most likely 50-50. Let's just save everybody's money. Let's just do this, call it 50-50 and walk away. But we can't do that because it seems like because the first time I go, all right, let's just do this. You're going to, 50%. Well, then you're automatically losing. So we're going to keep it in my side of the liability. How do we get past that? Is there a way?
Predictability of outcomes. Judges. So every bit of horse trading that we just went through, all of that's based on differing interpretations of how a judge is likely to come down on the issue if it ends up proceeding to trial.
Yeah. And
judges are a wild card right now.
Thankfully, they're very, very predictable in Korea. You can almost go and go, okay. And I think that was the initial opinion was it's going to be 80-20 or 70-30 for liability. But it's going to take a year. It's going to take a chunk of cash. There's going to be interest that's going to be accrued. There's going to be appeals. So let's just knock off 20%, do the 50-50 and call it a day. So
See,
the predictability in civil cases is actually very, very good in Korea.
not that great here in the States. And here's the thing: the criminal cases. Why do you think so many of these criminal trials settle? Like, why do you think there's so many plea deals? Because there's a somewhat of a predictable outcome, and that predictability tends towards guilt more often than not. And
Korea, it's over 99% conviction rate because the prosecutors are very, very good and they won't bring a charge unless they are damn sure they're going to get a conviction. So by the time you're charged, you pretty much know you're screwed, and you just go in and your trial becomes, I did it, now please have mercy on me.
Well, here the scary thing is that by the time you're charged, you kind of are screwed. Like you are. And you're screwed because, well, every defense attorney has this conversation with clients, and they're like, well, I didn't do it. And they kind of say, well, this is what the prosecutor is going to say. And this is what the prosecutor has as far as evidence. And you tell me, if you were in that jury box and you heard this, this, and this from a prosecutor who gets to argue first time and then at the very end gets the last word, you're in that jury. Do you believe that you did or did not do it? And they're like, this is bullshit. And I said, yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's why plea deals. That's why there's so many plea deals.
And that's something that what we talked about on my stream a few days ago, and it's something we always just tell the civil clients. You may absolutely be right. You may be 100% completely right in your assertion as to what happened and how and all the damages and all of this, but that who's right and wrong has nothing to do with the law. It's what you can prove. If you're 100% right and you can't prove it, you're not going to win, justice or not. And it's scary. It scares the shit out of me, especially when you start talking like that in the realm of criminal cases where the government literally has the power to kill you.
Yep. Why do you think I used to be pro death penalty? I used to be pro death penalty, like back in law school. About 10 years into the practice, I started to really not become jaded, but realize I can't be. I have seen too many cases wrongfully decided that no matter how egregious the facts of a certain case, I cannot put that back on the table. I can't. I've seen too many, especially after Trials of the Century and covering some of these things.
Yeah.
No.
I'm still pro death penalty. I believe there are people that have lost the right to breathe my oxygen. But I'm not in support of the way it's applied. I mean, I probably think it's not applied enough, but it's applied so arbitrarily and unfairly and disproportionately that I can't support its use.
Well, what about
the concept is great.
I mean, Zachariah Anderson. Let's take the facts as the jury believes them to exist. As the jury believes these facts to exist. When this is regardless. Oh my gosh, you are so chubby and
strawberries here. Yeah.
Oh wow. But as the jury believes these facts to exist, the person they have just convicted, and I'm just saying jury decision. The person they just convicted was capable of plotting, pre-plotting that they would go to this other person's residence. They would stalk them, they would follow them, and they had planned to kill them, or in a fury engaged in a killing. That after doing that, they had the disposition of a human that was capable of saying, I need to dispose of this body, and as the prosecutor suggested, and not get caught. So you have someone who's willingly and willfully escaping any possibility of justice, has no remorse for the person they just killed, would rather look out for themselves, and would go so far as to, as the prosecutor suggested, cut the body up to make it disappear. That is what the prosecutor would have you believe. That person would death penalty be on the table for.
See, they probably would be. So and probably get it.
Yep. And the state has just, and then the state takes the life of an individual. After watching that trial, does that make you question even a little bit the death penalty being on the table?
I don't like it being on the table, like I said, because it's applied that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a fair way of applying it to where you knew there was going to be no innocent people, and it was of such an egregious thing, but you can't do that. So I can't support the way it's used. Conceptually, I agree with it.
Conceptually, yeah. If the state never got anything wrong,
yeah, but yeah, they do. That's the secret.
A lot.
Speaking of getting things wrong here, we've got about 15 minutes. We got to get some of these super chats, and then I want to talk to you about the other stuff that I didn't get to talk to you about yet. All tech classes are gone. That's what we're going to be talking about here in a minute, so we'll keep that one highlighted. Tank Rat Legal Vices. I used the Arizona State website, which had all the decisions, appeals, and state Supreme Courts and report cards from both defense and prosecution on trial judges to vote on judges last election. Yeah, check with your state bar. Check with your state court web. Every state has a website. Check with that and see if there is something like that on there. It's like the Yelp for judges. But by actual other professionals, not people going, I can't believe you found me guilty. Search for those things with your bar association, with the state Supreme Court sites, whatever. There's records somewhere. Max Schmidt, which one of those is Borowski? Borowski, Manning, those are just the don't screw around with me judges.
Yeah, they're the trial
judge,
dogs.
Yeah. Love them. And I think they should all be that way. Nicholas Starhouse, Trial Watch. Yes, apply wood. That way of thinking is good.
Yeah.
All right. Wood jokes. All right. Reformed convict. Judges and prosecutors need independent civilian oversight like they do jury duty. No bias and accountability. There is none now, at least not in our Virginia, Rob.
I would say so. Different parts of Virginia operate differently. So Virginia is judges are nominated by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. The nomination in larger counties like Fairfax, they come based on a recommendation from the bar. The bar in Fairfax is actually pretty good. It's a bunch of attorneys that are actually pretty active. So the judges that we nominate are generally speaking decent. And then they come into a system that, I mean, Judge A she's the chief judge in Fairfax County. You saw how she operates a courtroom. That's what these judges are coming into that system that's built in place. So I would say that there's different. Now, prosecutors are different. There's a prosecutor out in Loudoun County who has no business being a prosecutor. And then Fairfax County kind of feel the same way. But they are really responsive more to the mob mentality of the people voting them in. So, yeah.
Do you think there could be some sort of independent non-lawyer oversight of judges and prosecutors? I mean, I understand the idea.
So the judges in Virginia, the judges in Virginia, when they get re-upped, they have to appear back before, and the Supreme Court has, now they issue judge grading within the lawyers. So I will get questionnaires based on judges. They just do it randomly. And I send back needs improvement, does great, application of law. So give my commentary. And the judges get hauled back in front of the Senate. And the Senate reads them their scores, basically. One judge who's one of my, has been a favorite of mine because I've always gotten along well. Her scores when she first was starting out, horrible. Like her approval rating from the attorneys was like a 30%. And the Senate brought her in and she kind of changed everything about how she was operating and she had the corrective action. I thought that was effective.
That's good.
So. Every state's different.
Nicholas Starov again, giving the appellate courts the right to reevaluate actual physical evidence would spruce things up. See, the Korea does a complete review. The high court, Korean high court cases are reviewed fact and law. Supreme Court is law. So
tough part is that then you have a judge that's reviewing a fact and the facts can change based on trial and how it's working.
And again, Nicholas, if you release a guilty, that person will still be punished by the hands of the Almighty. If you give an innocent death penalty, the punishment might be on you. That'd be a heavy thing to weigh on the conscience. To No, you sentence someone to death, and then you find out later somehow they were exonerated. That'd be a pretty rough burden to bear. And huge ass, thank you so much for your super chat. For me, the death penalty is one of those things that sounds good on paper, but just doesn't work out in the real world, like socialism or Australia. Nice. And Uxla, oversight in the UK is a joke. No judge has ever been properly disciplined for any misconduct ever, apart from about 3. And Rain Man YYC, Alberta has a public police misconduct database maintained by the government. All sources of authority should be subject to this kind of transparency. Phoebe says, do you ever sleep? Is that lovely Strawberry? That is Strawberry on cam now, and I sleep occasionally. And Reformed Convict says, if you were incarcerated for 6 months or more, you are forever changed. Institutionalization is real. I have it. I no longer desire to be in crowds of people, especially strangers. I always look out for attacks. Yeah, and you're seeing that with COVID, people that have been held without arraignment for 3, 6, 8 months or more, a year in some cases. And then they go, okay, never mind, or you're found not guilty. How do you make up that last time? As we wrap this up here, nope, all tech classes are gone. I had that in middle school and in the 90s. We were talking about that a while ago. That's a big part of your life. You have quite the nice workroom set up there. What benefits do you get from working with your hands, working with wood?
Peace. It's calm. You take a system that's completely out of control. You take a world that's completely out of control, and you put control back into it. You have control over what you're doing. Now, what you make might be a piece of crap, but you have control on how to improve your skills. You have the ability to take everything that's crazy and make it not so crazy. It might suck, but at least you're in control of that. So that's kind of part of it. But you also learn look, I can fix the plumbing in a house. I can fix the electrical in a house. I can fix the house. Those are good skills to have. You might want to pick up on a few of them. They're very helpful.
Well, and I think about that occasionally because I think about weird thoughts. Western civilization collapses.
Yep.
I'm screwed. Unless they want a semi-amusing storyteller or need a village idiot. I'm screwed. I can do things. I can cook. But I need somehow have money to buy things and barter things to cook with. There was a great book called Iron and Wolf. It was one of these post-apocalyptic books where we assume it was a nuclear war or something, but civilization collapsed. And the first thing the guy did was went to the library and started burying 50-gallon drums of books on how to do things. And so he protected the books. Then he went back and got books on forging iron, and he creates a forge. And that's his skill he makes. And then he sort of talked about how he is sort of trying to spearhead the rebirth of society in his place. And you need a valuable skill like that.
Mm-hmm. Another recommendation is 1 Second After by William Forstchen. You'd love that one, that book.
I like William Forster. I haven't heard of this book. 1 Second
William
After.
Forstchen.
Oh, okay. Forstchen.
Yep.
William Forstchen?
He presented a theory to Congress about why they should harden their military facilities against EMP, and they really didn't listen because the budget would be too much. So he wrote a book about his version of how life would exist after that. It's really scary, but it's really good.
Oh, it's a trilogy. Huh. Okay. 1 Second After, 1 Year After, and what was the third one? The Final Day. Oh, that sounds ominous. Oh, well, I will now order those as soon as we wrap up here.
Yep.
So, I mean, it teaches skills. It teaches you to follow through, to finish things. It teaches you to complete things, like you said, and the desire to get better. These are all valuable things we need to teach our children. I mean, I remember metal shop, wood shop. I remember taking these classes like they just don't exist anymore. Too much money, liability.
Something broken, fix it. It teaches character in kids too. Something's broken. No one else is going to fix it. You fix it. Learn how to fix it. You don't know how to fix it? Figure it out.
Oh, now you're just sounding all rational. I mean, why don't we want to teach this to our children? Why don't we want them to have these skills? I don't understand.
Don't look
We are
at me.
so soft.
Don't look at me.
We are so soft. I mean, I see it here in Korea as well. My battery dies, and I call a friend and ask if they can come over so I can, jump my car. And they're just looking at me like I'm a fucking wizard because I can connect 2 battery cables and make my car start. They're like, "Well, you didn't call roadside?" No. Get a flat tire. That's what you do. You call the Korean version of AAA.
Just
Like,
change the tire.
Yeah, and you can do that. Yeah, siphoning gas, that was magic as well. But we've lost this ability to do anything for ourselves because there's someone else who will do that for us. It's going to be Wally. We're just going to be sitting around looking for a pizza tree.
Ugh. Yeah, probably. It's sad.
Well, we've got 4 minutes to go before my next stream starts with the this murder trial of the NFL player. It's a wild one.
What's that one? Give me the brief TLDR on that. I haven't got caught up on that.
He's charged with 1 count of first-degree murder, 3 counts of attempted murder. He was breaking up with his girlfriend, a very, very, very sassy woman. He's a very, very salty guy. And he says, "Come into the house and get your shit out of here. Get out of here." But she's saying he wouldn't let me in the house, but he was saying, "Get your stuff out." Well, I wanted to get in, but he wouldn't let me in, but he wanted me to come in. And so she admits to first pushing him, putting hands on him first. And he seems to maybe have pushed her down in the grass, but she said he slammed me to the ground 2 times. She goes home, calls her brother, and tells her brother that she was physically assaulted by her boyfriend. She says, go, she sends him a text, "Go shoot up his shit." And he sends back a text saying he's a walking dead man. He goes and 3 of his friends magically show up at his house. He has no idea how his 3 friends showed up at his house. They all get in the car. They drive. They park 2 or 3 blocks away from the house because they didn't want to seem aggressive. Then the 3 or 4 kids in their hoodies walk up to the door about midnight, start pounding on his door and demanding that he come out. He comes out, and that's where the stories differ. He says 4 guys just started jumping him and attacking him, and he went into his house and got his weapon and came out. And they say, no, he was just really aggressive from the beginning. And the prosecution says he chased them about 300 yards down to where the car was. And then as they were driving away, shot 39 rounds at them in the car, hitting 1 kid and killing 39 rounds. The defense story is no shots were fired until they got the fight took place near the car. No shots were fired while they were walking away. No shots were fired while they were getting in the car, but they allege that someone pointed a weapon at them after they got in at the guy after they got in the car or as they were getting into the car. And he had no choice but to open fire on them to prevent him and his family from being shot. And the state's witnesses are rough around the edges. They've been arguing and yelling and fighting with the judge and fighting with the lawyers and sassing off and mouthing off and thinking they're on Judge Judy or something like that. It's bad. It's crazy.
Okay.
Come over and hang out if you want.
I'll have to check it out. I've got work to do, but I'll be in the chat.
All right. Well,
okay.
people, I really want to give a special thanks to Rob for agreeing to do this so early in the morning. I deeply appreciate it. You've been one of the good people to me over the past year, and I look forward to doing much more of this as we go along. I really just wanted to thank you, have you on here to let people get to know you a little bit better, and to tell you my personal thanks for being a good guy.
Well, Jeff, thank you for having me on. It was a great time. And everyone in the chat, keep an eye out because I think Jeff's going to make an appearance on some of these trials of the century as we keep going.
Oh, yeah. People in chat are saying, don't forget to mention that they dated for 1.5 years, and she never told him she was still married to another guy, even though they were talking about getting married and having children, because he didn't ask, and it's her past, and she didn't think he needed to know. It's a great case. So, all right, everybody, this is Rob from Law and Lumber. one of the true great LawTube guys out there. Great shows. Make sure you check out his Friday shows, especially. It's a good panel discussion of everything. Great times, great things he does. I consider him to be one of my true LawTube friends. Can't wait to do this again. Make sure you're subscribed to him. Make sure you like everything he's ever done, especially the Friday stream I was on a couple of weeks ago, and I don't even really remember being there because alcohol. And you want to go back to, I think it was 4. Was it 4 effing Fridays ago? I think Jason Statham.
I don't remember. It was a while back.
I need to break that off into its own separate video and just
please don't.
I will do that. I'll put my guy on it. Rob, thank you so much for being here.
It was a great time. I'll see you guys later.
Mods, thank you guys for being here. Chat, thank you for being here. Thank you for the generosity. All of Rob's peeps that are here, make sure you like and subscribe to me. Who won the poll today? The last bit of the poll. Oh, it's a close one. 12% said, of course, I liked it. A plain crime not to. 13% said only a lazy person wouldn't. 18% said, yes, our joints dovetail nicely. 57% said we did it because it would be a tragedy if not. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow's a roundup of 10 different cases that are currently open. We're going to do a case roundup and then more of this trial. Thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Thanks, Rob. Bye.